The space station floated in the endless dark, its silver walls glowing faintly against the stars. Thousands of travelers moved through its wide halls every hour. Traders, soldiers, scientists, and wanderers from many different worlds. To them, it was just another stop in the galaxy. But for her, the alien woman, the station felt like a cage of eyes. She kept her hood low, covering most of her face. Her hands, thin and rough with strange markings, trembled as she clutched the strap of her worn bag. Every step she took along the docking bay floor echoed louder in her own ears, as if the station itself wanted to announce her presence. She tried not to meet anyone's gaze. When she did, she saw the same reaction every time. A quick glance, a wrinkle of the nose, a whisper behind a hand. She had grown used to it. Or at least she told herself she had. But inside, the shame burned like fire. She was not like the shining, graceful members of her own species. Scars ran across her cheek where an accident long ago had left her skin uneven. Her eyes were larger than normal, their color too bright, almost glowing. To many, she looked strange. To some, she looked frightening. And so she hid, walking as silently as possible, moving where the shadows of the docking towers covered her. The docking bay buzzed with sound as a new ship prepared to arrive. Announcements played over the speakers telling passengers to step back, to clear the area, to make way for the incoming vessel. The alien woman stopped and stood to the side. She liked watching ships come in, though she never admitted it. Each one carried stories, new faces, new chances, maybe even new hope. The air shimmered as a human ship slid into view. Its wings were long and white, sharp like blades, but its landing was soft, almost graceful. The engines powered down with a sigh and the heavy doors opened. Humans were rare here. Most species kept their distance from them. Too loud, too stubborn, too proud. These were the words whispered across the stars. The alien woman had heard them all. She had even believed them. Humans were trouble. Better to avoid them, and yet her eyes lingered. From the ship, a man stepped out first. Tall, broad-shouldered, his clothes simple but neat. He carried himself with confidence but not arrogance. His eyes moved across the docking bay carefully, alert like a protector. Behind him, a small figure appeared, a child. A little girl no more than 8 or 9 years old, with hair tied in a simple braid. Her steps were light, her gaze curious, touching everything with wonder. The alien woman felt her chest tighten. Children were rare to see in places like this. Most parents kept them safe on peaceful planets, far away from crowded stations. Yet here was this human girl, walking fearlessly, her small hand gripping her father's sleeve. The crowd parted to let them pass. Some watched with mild interest, some with suspicion. The alien woman turned her head quickly, afraid of being noticed. She lowered her hood further, praying the humans would walk past. But then she felt it, the unmistakable weight of eyes on her. She looked up and the child was staring directly at her. The alien woman froze. Her heart pounded in her chest. She expected the usual reaction, the wrinkle of disgust, the laugh, maybe even the pointing finger. She wanted to turn away, to vanish into the crowd before it came. But her feet refused to move. The child tilted her head, studying her with wide, honest eyes. Then slowly she let go of her father's sleeve and took a small step forward. The alien woman's breath caught. What was she doing? No one ever approached her. Most avoided her as if she carried a disease. Yet this human child was walking closer, her steps steady, her eyes calm. "Stay close," the father said, reaching for her hand. But the girl didn't listen. She had already stopped in front of the alien woman. For a moment, silence filled the docking bay. The noise of engines, the chatter of travelers all seemed to fade into the background. The alien woman could hear only her own pulse in her ears. The girl looked up at her face, at the scars she tried so hard to hide, at the glowing eyes that frightened others. But instead of fear or disgust, the girl's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. She turned her head slightly and whispered, her voice soft but clear enough for her father and for the alien woman to hear. "So beautiful, Dad." The alien woman's world stopped. Her mind tried to reject the words. Beautiful? No. She had been called many things in her life, strange, broken, ugly. But never that, not once. And yet this child with her innocent eyes had spoken it without hesitation, without doubt. The father blinked, surprised. He looked at his daughter, then at the alien woman. Instead of correcting her, instead of pulling her away, he gave a small nod, as if agreeing with the child's simple truth. The alien woman felt her throat tighten. She wanted to speak, to say something, anything. But the words refused to come. Instead, she lowered her head, her hands shaking as she clutched her bag tighter. The crowd moved on, uninterested in the small moment unfolding at the edge of the dock. But for the alien woman, everything had changed. One phrase, spoken by a child, had cracked the heavy shell of shame she had carried for so long. Yet beneath the warmth of the words, fear stirred. This was dangerous, too dangerous. Humans did not know the rules here. And if anyone had heard what the girl said, if the wrong ears carried it to the council... The alien woman turned quickly, pulling her hood lower. She walked away fast, her steps uneven, her heart racing. Behind her, the little girl's voice echoed once more. Wait. The alien woman didn't stop. She couldn't. Because for the first time in her life, someone had seen her differently, and that truth scared her more than anything else. The alien woman hurried away from the docking bay, her hood pulled tight over her face. Her heart raced with every step. She could still hear the child's voice in her head, soft but unshakable. So beautiful, Dad. No one had ever said those words to her. Not in her youth, not in her worst moments, not even in her dreams. She had carried scars and shame for so long that she believed beauty was a word meant for others, never for her. And yet that small human had looked at her as if she saw something no one else could. She wanted to erase the memory, to bury it before it took root in her heart. But it clung to her like a seed refusing to die. She found a quiet corner near the observation deck and sat alone, trying to calm her breath. Through the glass wall, the stars stretched wide and endless. Ships moved like glowing insects between them. Normally, she found comfort in the sight. Tonight, the stars felt heavy, pressing down with questions she could not answer. Her mind drifted backward. She remembered her childhood on her homeworld. Other children had stared at her glowing eyes and laughed. They had called her cursed. Teachers had avoided touching her. Even her own mother had kept her distance, ashamed of the scars that marked her face. The pain of those memories had shaped her life. She had learned to keep her head down, to move quickly, to never draw attention. The galaxy was easier that way. If no one noticed her, no one could wound her, but that child had noticed. And instead of cruelty, she had given kindness. The alien woman clenched her hands. Why? Why would a human child of all people say such a thing? Humans were supposed to be arrogant, prideful, always seeing themselves as superior. Every story she had heard painted them as reckless and selfish. So why had that girl's eyes held no fear, no disgust? Why had her voice carried only truth? As she sat in silence, footsteps approached. Her breath caught. Slowly she looked up. It was them, the human man and his daughter. The father stood a short distance away, careful not to step too close, as if respecting her space. His eyes studied her with quiet curiosity, but there was no threat in them. The girl, however, didn't hesitate. She rushed forward, her braid bouncing behind her, and stopped right in front of the alien woman's seat. The alien stiffened. "Go back," she whispered, her voice low and rough. "It is not safe." "Not safe?" The child tilted her head. "Why?" The alien woman glanced around nervously. The docking bay might have seemed loud and careless, but she knew eyes were everywhere. The galactic law was strict. No bonds, no closeness, no mixing between certain species. And though humans were new to these regions, they would not be spared punishment if they broke the rules. "You should not speak to me," she said firmly. "People will see. People will talk." The father stepped closer now, his expression calm. "If people talk, let them," he said. His voice was steady, almost gentle. "We do not fear words." The alien woman's chest tightened. She wanted to argue, to tell him he didn't understand the danger, but when she looked at the child again, her words failed. The girl's smile was small, innocent, but stronger than any wall the alien had ever built. "You are not afraid of me?" the alien asked finally. Her voice cracked on the last word. The girl shook her head. "Why would I be? You're beautiful." The word struck again like a blade of light through darkness. The alien woman lowered her gaze, her eyes burning. She wanted to say, "No, I am not. You don't understand." But deep inside, a hidden part of her longed to believe it. "Do you know what others see when they look at me?" she asked, her tone bitter. The father's voice answered instead. "I know what my daughter sees." And sometimes children see truth clearer than adults. The alien woman stared at him. His words carried no mockery, no pity, just honesty. It confused her, unsettled her, almost frightened her. She stood quickly, pulling her hood lower again. "You should go. Stay with your kind. Do not waste your words on me." But as she turned, the girl's small hand suddenly reached out and touched her scarred fingers. The alien froze. No one touched her, not willingly, not without disgust. But this child's touch was warm, light, unafraid. Her breath trembled. The rules, the danger, the shame, all screamed at her to pull away. But for a few seconds, she didn't move. She let the human child's hand rest on hers. The father stepped forward now, his eyes serious but calm. "You don't have to run from kindness," he said quietly. Before the alien could respond, voices rose from across the bay. A group of officers in dark uniforms marched past, their eyes sharp, scanning the area. The alien jerked back instantly, pulling her hand free, her heart pounding. If they had seen, the father noticed too. His jaw tightened. He placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder, guiding her back. "We should not stay here," he said softly. The alien woman turned away quickly, retreating into the shadows once more. But even as fear rushed through her veins, the child's words and touch remained like fire in her heart. She had spent a lifetime believing she was cursed, that she was unwanted, unseen. Yet in the space of a few moments, a human child had given her something she thought impossible. Hope, and hope was dangerous. The alien woman barely slept that night. She stayed in the cheapest corner of the station's lodging sector, her back pressed against the cold wall, her hood still pulled over her head even in the darkness. She had learned long ago that shadows offered safety, but tonight even shadows felt thin. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human child smile. Every time she tried to silence her thoughts, she heard the same words echoing. "So beautiful, Dad, it was dangerous." Those words were too loud, even if only whispered. If anyone repeated them to the wrong ears, the Galactic Council would know. And the Council's laws were sharp like glass. The galaxy prided itself on order. Different species could trade, work, and share stations, but closeness was forbidden. Friendships were tolerated only on the surface. Anything deeper was judged as a threat to balance. Too much affection, too much trust could be labeled as corruption. She knew this better than anyone. Years ago, her cousin had been accused of showing favor to another race. The punishment was exile. No homeworld, no station, no rights. He had disappeared into the void and no one had heard of him since. The alien woman shivered. She could not let that happen to her. And yet the more she told herself to forget the humans, the stronger their faces returned. The father's steady eyes, the child's gentle hand, the warmth she had not felt in decades. By morning, she forced herself back into routine. She walked to the trade hall, bought a simple meal, and tried to look invisible. But the station buzzed with gossip, as it always did. Travelers from dozens of species carried news faster than any broadcast. "Did you hear? Humans are here. They brought a child." Imagine a child in this sector. Foolish. Don't they know the council watches everything? Each word made her heart beat harder. She kept her head down, but her ears caught every whisper. Some voices were curious, some mocking, some sharp with dislike. And then she heard the most dangerous sentence of all. Someone said the child touched an alien woman. Her blood ran cold. The voices behind her lowered, turning into murmurs she could no longer catch. She didn't need to. The damage was already done. Someone had seen, someone had spoken. She left the hall at once, her legs trembling beneath her. She tried to blend with the crowds, but her eyes scanned every corner. Cameras watched from above. Patrol officers walked in pairs. Every step she took felt like stepping closer to a trap. By evening, her fear proved true. She returned to her small lodging only to find 2 officers waiting outside the door. Their armor gleamed. Their helmets reflected the pale lights of the hall. One raised a hand. "You," he said sharply. "You are summoned." Her heart pounded so loud she thought the whole station could hear it. "Summoned?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Council inquiry," the officer replied. His tone was clipped without emotion. "You will follow." The alien woman lowered her head, hiding the panic rising in her eyes. She had no choice. If she resisted, they would drag her through the station in chains. Slowly, she nodded and stepped forward. The officers flanked her, guiding her down long corridors. Every turn made the air feel heavier. She knew where they were going. The council chambers, the heart of judgment. The path took them past the upper observation decks. For a moment, her eyes caught movement through the glass. There on the far side, she saw them. The humans. The father stood tall, carrying a small travel bag as if preparing for departure. The daughter clung to his hand, but her gaze drifted across the deck. And then she saw her. The alien woman's steps faltered. The child's eyes widened, and she pressed against the glass. She lifted her free hand, waving softly, as if trying to reach her across the barrier of air and law. For a heartbeat, the alien woman forgot the officers. She forgot the council waiting ahead. All she saw was the little girl's innocent smile, her fingers against the glass, a silent message. Don't be afraid. Keep walking, the officer barked. The alien lowered her gaze again. But deep inside, that one look gave her a strange strength. Perhaps small, perhaps foolish. Yet it was there. At last, they reached the council chamber. The doors opened with a hiss, revealing a vast room filled with high seats carved from black stone. The council members sat above, their eyes cold, their robes heavy with authority. The alien woman was led to the center platform, a circle of light beneath her feet. She stood alone, every scar on her face exposed. Every secret she had tried to hide pulled into view. One counselor leaned forward, his voice echoing across the hall. You were seen in close contact with outsiders, he declared. With humans, the chamber murmured. The alien woman's throat tightened. The counselor's eyes narrowed. Do you deny it? She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Deny it? She could. She could lie and perhaps escape. But the memory of the child's hand in hers burned too clearly to be erased. She stayed silent. The counselor's lips curved into something between a sneer and a smile. Then you understand the weight of your silence. You know the punishment. The alien woman's knees weakened. Her whole life balanced on a blade of law and mercy. But she also remembered the child's whisper, carried like a fragile flame in her chest. So beautiful. The counselor raised his hand. Your fate will be decided soon. The lights dimmed. The shadow of the law had fallen. The alien woman left the council chamber with her heart pounding like a drum. The officers had dismissed her, but not with freedom, only with waiting. Her case was not closed. Her punishment was not yet given. The council wanted time to decide. Time to whisper. Time to sharpen their judgment. She returned to the crowded walkways of the station, but she felt the shadow of every eye. No one spoke to her directly, but she caught the whispers. That's her. The one with the humans. Foolish woman. She'll bring ruin. Better not stand too close. The council is watching. Every word was another weight pressing against her chest. She wanted to disappear into the steel walls, vanish into the void between stars. Yet no matter how far she tried to walk, the memory of a small hand on hers, warm and unafraid, followed her. She stopped at the edge of the market sector, unsure where to go next. And then, like a soft thread pulling her forward, she heard a familiar voice. Dad! There she is! Her heart jumped. She turned quickly. The humans were there. The father stood tall, his bag slung across his shoulder. The daughter, bright-eyed and fearless, waved to her as if she were an old friend. The alien woman froze. She wanted to turn away, to run before others saw them together again. But the child was already rushing toward her, weaving through the crowd with quick, eager steps. The alien braced herself for the stares, the judgment, the whispers. But the girl didn't notice or care. She stopped right in front of her, smiling up at her as if the entire station had vanished. You didn't say goodbye, the child said, her voice soft but firm, like a truth no one could argue with. The alien woman's lips trembled. It is better this way, she whispered. Better for who? The girl asked. The father caught up now, his step steady, his presence calm. He looked at the alien woman with quiet eyes, not pitying, not mocking, simply seeing. We are leaving soon, he said. But before we go, my daughter insisted we find you. The alien lowered her head. You should not be near me. It is dangerous. The man's voice was calm but strong. Danger does not erase kindness. The word struck her. She lifted her gaze slowly, as if the weight of his sentence was too heavy to carry at once. Kindness, a gift she had almost forgotten existed. Before she could answer, the girl tugged gently at her hand. Come with us, she said. Just for a meal. The alien stiffened. Her heart beat wildly. A meal with humans? Impossible. Eating was a private act for most species, something shared only with family or trusted friends. To sit at a table with them would not only break tradition, it would be seen as defiance. I cannot, she said quickly. The council already watches me. Let them watch, the father replied. His tone carried no fear, only steady defiance. If they wish to see, let them see something true. The alien woman shook her head. Her instincts screamed at her to run. But then the girl squeezed her hand tighter, her eyes full of a warmth that pierced every wall the alien had built. Please, the child whispered, just once. You don't have to hide with us. Silence hung between them. The alien looked at the father, then at the daughter. Their faces held no judgment, only invitation. And though fear clawed at her chest, another voice whispered deeper inside. When was the last time you were treated as more than a shadow? At last her resistance broke. She nodded once, a small trembling motion. The girl beamed. Come on. They led her to a small food stall at the edge of the market. It was not grand, just a simple corner with warm lights and quiet tables. The alien sat awkwardly, her hood still up, her hands hidden. She expected stares, whispers, maybe even laughter, but none came. The father ordered food without fuss. The girl swung her legs beneath the table, humming to herself. When the plates arrived, the alien hesitated. Her species ate differently, her movements strange compared to theirs. She braced herself for ridicule, but when she lifted her first bite, the girl clapped her hands softly and said, See, Dad? She eats just like us. The alien froze. Then slowly a smile tugged at the corner of her lips. It was small, uncertain, but real. For the first time in years, she ate without shame. The father watched quietly, letting the moment unfold. His eyes were calm, steady, like a shield around the table. When the alien finally set her plate down, he spoke softly. You have spent too long believing lies about yourself, he said. But my daughter sees truth. And so do I. The alien woman's eyes burned. She lowered her head quickly, but a tear slipped down her cheek, catching the glow of the stall's light. The girl reached out, gently brushing the alien's scarred hand. Don't be sad, she said. You're with us now. For a moment, the alien forgot the council. She forgot the whispers, the danger, the laws. She felt only warmth, but in the shadows someone else was watching. A figure in dark uniform stood near the far wall, his eyes locked on them, his communicator in hand. The council's gaze had not left her, and this gift of kindness might soon cost them all. The alien woman knew peace never lasted long. For one night she allowed herself to believe in kindness, sitting with the humans, tasting food without shame, even smiling at the little girl's laughter. But the galaxy was not kind, and the council never slept. The summons arrived the next morning. A sharp knock on her door, followed by the cold voice of an officer. You are to appear before the council immediately. Her chest tightened. She had hoped their interest would fade. She had hoped they would forget her. But the council remembered everything. She was escorted once more through the long metallic corridors, past endless pairs of staring eyes. This time, however, the whispers were louder, harsher. There she is, the one who defies the law. She sat with them, ate with them, shameless. Humans will corrupt everything if this continues. Every word struck like a blade. She tried to keep her head down, but shame wrapped around her like chains. The council chamber was colder than before. The high stone seats loomed above her, shadows stretching long across the floor. The members sat like carved statues, their faces unreadable, their eyes sharp. One counselor spoke first, his voice echoing across the chamber. You were warned, he said, yet you chose to ignore the balance of our laws. You sat with humans. You shared food. You allowed contact. Do you deny it? The alien woman's throat was dry. Her lips parted, but no words came. She could not deny the truth. She had sat with them. She had allowed kindness. She had let herself believe. The counselor's voice grew sharper. By your silence, you confess. You have shamed your kind and placed yourself in danger. The alien woman lowered her head. Fear wrapped around her chest like iron. She waited for the sentence, for the exile, for the end. But before the counselor could continue, another voice rose. I deny it. The alien woman's eyes snapped up in shock. The words had not come from her. They came from the entrance of the chamber. The human father stood there. His broad frame filled the doorway, his jaw set, his eyes burning with defiance. The child was at his side, clutching his hand tightly. Gasps spread through the hall. Humans were not invited to these chambers. They were supposed to remain silent, outsiders to the galaxy's politics. Yet here he was, stepping forward without fear. The officers moved to block him, but he pushed past, his voice loud and steady. She has done nothing wrong, he declared. If kindness is a crime, then we all stand guilty. I was there. I invited her. She only joined because of us. The chamber erupted with murmurs. The council members leaned forward, their cold eyes narrowing. One slammed a fist against the arm of his chair. You dare speak in this chamber, human? I dare, the father said firmly. Because truth should not be silenced. The alien woman's heart pounded. She wanted to stop him, to tell him he was making it worse. But his voice carried a weight she could not match. Another counselor sneered. Humans are new to our galaxy. You do not understand our order. You think your words carry power here? The father stepped closer, his shoulders squared. My words carry truth, and truth needs no permission. The alien woman stared at him, her chest tightening with something strange. Fear mixed with gratitude. She had never seen anyone speak to the council like this. No one dared. But this man did, as if the weight of their judgment meant nothing. The counselor's eyes burned with anger. You risk punishment yourself. Perhaps you believe humans are beyond our reach? The father shook his head slowly. I believe justice belongs to more than your laws. If you cannot see her worth, if you cannot see her dignity, then it is not her shame. It is yours. The chamber fell silent. Even the whispers of the crowd faded. The alien woman trembled. She had always bowed, always hidden, always stayed silent. Yet this human, this outsider, spoke with a courage she had never dared to dream of. But the council was not softened. Not yet. You think a child's words and a human's pride will change the laws of the galaxy? The first counselor hissed. You mistake weakness for strength. We will not allow corruption to spread. The alien woman's chest sank. She felt the hope slipping away again. The council's power was too great. Words, no matter how true, could not break stone. And then, the smallest voice spoke. I'm not afraid of you. The alien woman turned sharply. The child had stepped forward, her small hand still gripping her father's sleeve. Her voice was clear, ringing across the chamber with a courage far greater than her size. The counselors leaned back, surprised. No one had expected the girl to speak. You are wrong, the child said, her eyes locked on them. You say she is shame, but I see beauty. You say she breaks your law, but she gave me kindness. And you... She pointed a small finger upward. You cannot take that away. The alien woman's knees weakened. Tears stung her eyes. No one had ever defended her like this, not even from her own kind. And now, in the coldest chamber of the galaxy, it was a human child who spoke truth that silenced all others. The council members exchanged glances, their stone faces cracked with unease. For the first time, they had no quick reply. The father placed a steady hand on his daughter's shoulder, his voice quiet but strong. Even a child can see what you refuse to see. The alien woman's breath trembled. She was still afraid of exile, afraid of punishment. But for the first time, she was not alone in her fear. And in the silence that followed, the weight of the accusation began to shift. The chamber was silent. The air felt heavy, as if even the walls of the council chamber were holding their breath. Dozens of eyes stared, waiting for the punishment to fall. But it was not the council speaking now. It was the smallest voice in the room, the human child. Her words hung in the air like a spark in the dark. You cannot take that away. The alien woman trembled. She wanted to shield the child, to cover her with her cloak, to hide her from the cruel eyes above. The council did not forgive challenges. And yet the girl stood steady, her chin lifted, her small hand still clutching her father's sleeve. One counselor finally broke the silence. His voice was deep, his tone sharp. Child, you dare to speak in this chamber? Yes, the girl answered without hesitation. Gasps rippled through the hall. Even the alien woman's knees weakened at the boldness. The counselor leaned forward. His shadow stretched across the chamber floor. You are too young to understand law. Your words carry no weight here. The girl's eyes narrowed. Then maybe your law's blind. The crowd shifted uneasily. Murmurs rose and fell like the tide of a storm. Never had a child spoken so boldly. Never had innocence stood so directly against power. The alien woman's heart raced. Fear clawed at her chest, but hope burned there too. This girl's courage was not loud with anger. It was simple, honest, impossible to twist. The father placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder, but he did not silence her. He only stood by her side, his eyes watching the council with quiet strength. Another counselor spoke, his voice smooth, mocking. "And what do you see, human child, that we cannot?" The girl looked at the alien woman, her gaze soft but steady. Then she turned back to the towering figures. "I see beauty," she said. "I see kindness. I see someone who was alone but didn't deserve to be." The alien woman's throat tightened. No one had ever described her like that. Not once in all her years. The girl stepped forward now, releasing her father's hand. Her small feet echoed against the stone floor as she walked to the center of the chamber, where the alien woman stood under the circle of light. Without fear, the child took her hand again. The alien froze, her glowing eyes wide. Everyone was watching. The council, the officers, the crowd. But the child didn't care. She held her scarred hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "She is my friend," the girl said, her voice ringing. "And if your law says she should be punished, then your law is wrong." The chamber erupted. Gasps, whispers, even shouts filled the air. Officers moved uneasily, unsure whether to intervene. The council members shifted in their seats, their faces dark with anger and uncertainty. The alien woman's tears spilled freely now. She wanted to pull away, to protect the girl from the wrath of the council, but her heart refused. For the first time, she let herself stand tall. One counselor slammed his hand against the armrest. "Enough, this is not a place for children's games. Remove them at once." But another voice, calmer, older, spoke from the far side of the chamber. "And yet it is the child who has spoken truth." The room hushed. The elder counselor leaned forward, his eyes weary but sharp. "Perhaps we should listen for once without pride clouding our sight." The other members glared at him, but the words could not be erased. The father's voice joined, steady and firm. "You call yourselves guardians of order, but order without justice is only fear. My daughter's voice is pure. She speaks what you refuse to see." The alien woman's hand shook, but not from shame this time, from something new. Strength. She had lived in silence for so long, believing her voice was worthless. But now, standing under the harsh light with the child's hand in hers, she found courage rising in her chest. She lifted her chin and finally spoke. Her voice was rough, uncertain, but it carried. "I am not corruption," she said. "I am not shame, I am someone." The words hung in the air, small, fragile, but real. The crowd murmured again, but differently this time, not just with judgment, with questions, with doubt. The counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats, for the certainty of their power had been cracked by a child's truth. The girl squeezed her hand tighter, smiling up at her. "See, you can speak too." The alien woman's tears fell again, but now they were warm, not bitter. She bent down slightly, her forehead almost touching the child's. "You are braver than I ever was," she whispered. The father stepped forward, his voice softer now. "Perhaps it takes a child to remind us what we all forget, that worth is not given by law. It is already there." The council remained silent. They had not surrendered, but their authority had been shaken. The elder member's words lingered in the air. The child's defiance echoed louder than any decree. At last, the leading counselor spoke, his voice like iron. "This matter is not finished. We will decide her fate soon. Until then, she is to remain under watch." The alien woman's stomach twisted with fear again, but even as officers moved closer, she held onto the child's hand. She was no longer standing alone, and in her heart, she knew something had already changed, because the galaxy had heard the child's voice. The alien woman stood beneath the council's harsh lights, the child's hand still wrapped tightly in hers. The officers waited, their eyes sharp, but no one moved. The chamber seemed frozen, caught between the power of law and the power of truth. When the council finally dismissed them, it was not with a sentence, but with silence. "Her fate remains undecided," the lead counselor said. "Until then she is watched, marked, neither free nor punished." But in that silence something else stirred, uncertainty. And uncertainty was more dangerous to the council than open defiance. The alien woman walked out of the chamber with trembling legs. She expected the humans to leave her, to escape before the law found new ways to strike. But they did not. The father walked beside her, his step steady, his eyes calm. The child held her hand as if it belonged there, swinging it gently as they moved through the cold corridors. When they reached the outer decks, where stars shone through the glass walls, the alien woman stopped. She looked at them with wide, glowing eyes. "You should go," she whispered. "You have already risked too much. The council will not forget." The father's voice was quiet but firm. "Neither will we." The child shook her head, her braids swaying. "We're not leaving you alone." The alien woman's heart twisted. No one had ever said such words to her before. She wanted to believe them, to hold on to them forever, but fear still pressed heavy on her chest. "You don't understand," she said softly. "The galaxy does not change. The laws do not bend. They will always see me as less." The father studied her, his eyes steady, his voice gentle. "Laws are written by hands, and hands can change." The alien woman wanted to argue, but the memory of the council chamber stopped her. The way the elder counselor had hesitated, the way the murmurs of the crowd had shifted, the way silence had fallen after the child's words. Maybe, just maybe, cracks had begun to form in the stone. They sat together on a bench near the viewing glass. Stars drifted outside, endless and bright. The child leaned her head against the alien woman's arm as if she belonged there. For the first time in years, the alien did not pull away. She looked down at the girl and whispered, "Why? Why do you see me this way when no one else does?" The girl blinked up at her, her voice soft but certain. "Because it's true. You're beautiful. Not here." She tapped her cheek gently. "But here." She placed her small hand against the alien woman's chest over her heart. The alien woman's tears fell silently. She turned her face toward the stars, hiding them, but the warmth in her chest burned brighter than the shame ever had. The father leaned back, watching the stars as well. "Sometimes it takes only one voice," he said, "to remind the galaxy what it has forgotten." The alien woman looked at him sharply. "One voice cannot change the council." "Maybe not today," he admitted, "but today it made them listen." The alien thought of the chamber again, the way the counselors had shifted in their seats, the way their perfect confidence had cracked. She thought of the crowd, whispering differently now, no longer certain of their judgment. The child's voice had planted a seed, small but alive, and seeds could grow even in stone. For the first time, the alien woman allowed herself to smile without hiding it. It was small, fragile, but real. She whispered almost to herself, "Maybe." "I am beautiful," the child grinned. "I told you so." They sat together in silence, watching ships rise and vanish into the stars. The alien woman felt the old fear still inside her, but it no longer owned her. She had been seen not as a scar, not as shame, but as someone. Later, when they rose to leave, the officers were still there watching, but their eyes seemed different, less sharp, more uncertain. Even in their silence, the alien woman sensed change. The father placed a hand on her shoulder before they parted. "Walk tall," he said. "The galaxy will follow." The alien woman nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the stars. She still did not know what the council would decide. She still feared exile, punishment, judgment, but she also knew something she had never believed before. She was not alone. As the humans walked toward their ship, the child turned back one last time. She waved, her small smile shining like a star in the dark. The alien woman lifted her hand slowly, returning the wave, and for the first time in her life, she did not hide her face.